News of the week on the Saturday evening. Well, technically early Saturday evening, but by the time this video uploads, it'll probably a little bit later tonight, or it'll be uploaded on Sunday afternoon because apparently the Wi-Fi is a little bit spotty tonight. And for some reason, there's been times where I've been able to get the Wi-Fi working, and there's been times that I can't get the Wi-Fi working. So I'm gonna have to later make a decision after this video whether or not should I upload it tonight or wait till tomorrow and go to the local library to basically upload my video. Which, by the way, I actually have done that many times before when I upload my video onto my channel because the local library Wi-Fi is 10 times faster than the Wi-Fi I have here at home. But with that being said, let's take a look at some of the news. And you knew that we were going to get tons of news after the Christmas break. I mean, it's almost as if as we were approaching the Christmas break, let's just slow down a little bit in terms of us talking about rumors and talking about players potentially moving to MLS. And that right after Christmas is over, it's back to work and the rumor mill is pretty much in overdrive once again. But we start off with Inter Miami is rumored to expect to name Diego Alonso as their new manager, and I think this would be an excellent hiring for Inter Miami, considering I feel like this is a very similar kind of move that Matias Almeida made with the Quakes. If you guys remember, Matias Almeida left Chivas after winning CCL and winning some Liga MX title to Chivas, and it's the same thing with Diego Alonso, who he actually didn't leave Monterrey. He actually got fired from Rayados, but he did win them a CCL title, and he also did a double with Pachuca just a couple of years back. And knowing the fact that if he comes to the league here, and that I feel like the difference between him coming into this league compared to Almeida is that Almeida, when he come to the Quakes, he really didn't have a lot of leverage in terms of the talent base that he works with, and he kind of works wonder with this team. Well, with Diego Alonso coming into Inter Miami, this is a team that has leverage in terms of spending big and trying to bring some money, and I'm pretty sure Beckham will let him spend whatever he wants and whatever players that he wants in this team. So don't be surprised if we might get some former Rayados player come to Inter Miami if Alonso decided to manage this team. But yeah, from what I heard, they're expected to name him the first manager in this club history, and if that is the case, this would be an absolute amazing hire for Inter Miami. Definitely better than Patrick Vieira, which, no offense to Patrick Vieira, but even though I know he kind of had success with NYCFC, I feel like Diego Alonso is probably the better option. Speaking of Inter Miami, the next two news is also about Inter Miami, as they are rumored to get Roman Torres from the Seattle Sounders, and I can definitely see that this one happen too, because whenever there tends to rumor to try to get a MLS player within the league, it usually come true. Whereas if they're rumored with anybody else that is not from MLS, and it's not like an interleague trade that is the case, then usually that is not going to be the case. But I definitely can see this happen, and I think this would definitely be a good signing for Inter Miami. Roman Torres is a leader of the Sounders for a very long time, and he definitely shown that leadership, and now he can of course go to Inter Miami and continue to have an amazing career that he's been having in MLS for the past couple of years. Now, they also are going to, well, actually this is official. They actually have acquired Juan Agudelo in a trade with TFC in exchange for a third-round draft pick in 2021. And I think last time when I kind of talked about how this was a rumor, the fact that Agudelo is going to be going to Miami instead of TFC, I didn't really give you a very specific reason why Agudelo might be choosing TFC instead of Miami, and that it turns out Agudelo was actually part of TFC, and that TFC actually got him on a re-entry draft. I think it was the second round of the re-entry draft, and they of course have him on the book, but it seemed like Inter Miami kind of want him as one of their player in their roster. So that is the reason why they of course have to, give them some draft picks or give them some allocation money in order to acquire Juan Agudelo, since TFC have already acquired him for the re-entry draft, and that is exactly the case. So it might sound a little bit confusing, but the bottom line is, and the simple way to say this is that Juan Agudelo was picked up by TFC, but it seemed like TFC don't want him, wanted to sell him to Inter Miami via a trade, and this is basically what the trade is. And I think that's a good deal for both of these teams. Obviously, for TFC, they didn't need to give up any allocation money in order to give up Juan Agudelo, and for Inter Miami, they get a guy that I think should do pretty well with them. Agudelo, he's been kind of a journeyman throughout MLS, and that I know he hasn't really shown as much as his potential as we thought he would be in his early career. But, him coming to Inter Miami might be not only just a fresh change of scenery in terms of getting a chance to finally prove that he can fulfill his potential, but he could be a very decent attacking option for Inter Miami. Minnesota is actually rumored to be interested in Deportivo Cali midfielder Christian Rivera. Now, this one is a little bit interesting because the Loons is actually pretty stacked in terms of the midfield. I mean, I'm guessing the only reason why the Loons want to get this player is that they're thinking that probably Ozzy Alonso in a year or two is eventually gonna hang up his boots, and once that happens, we already have a plan in terms of replacing him. But I feel like this is I feel like the midfield isn't really a big problem for the Loons right now. The biggest problem right now for the Loons, and the biggest hole that they need to fill, is the striker position. And, I think they did rumor to get a striker a couple weeks back, but I haven't really heard a lot about it. Obviously, I know they're rumored to get Dom Dwyer, and I heard that is still a rumor to this day, which I really hope that's not the case, because, Orlando City basically tell everybody that Dom Dwyer is pretty much cooked now, and that, if you decided to acquire Dom Dwyer from us, then you basically did not learn the same lesson that we learned very harshly when we tried to acquire him in the first place. So, yeah, I hope Minnesota, and for the Loons' stake, they don't choose Dom Dwyer as their option. I mean, unless if Dom Dwyer can maybe be, if this is a situation where he needs a change of scenery, and that maybe he can rediscover his good form that he had with SKC a couple of years ago, I feel like this is not a good option in terms of fixing the striker option or the striker situation with the Loons heading into this new year. And also, I haven't heard anything about Vito Monone and whether or not if he's going to be back with the Loons or not. Like, I look at the Loons website, and on the roster chart, they didn't have Vito Monone as one of the goalkeepers, so I'm guessing he's probably gone. I mean, I guess maybe he's gone now, unless if Minnesota decided to finally acquire him on a permanent transfer, and that's when that Vito Monone will be back on the roster on the Loons website. And, if they want to acquire Monone, I mean, I hate to say it, but maybe they need to give him a DP contract if that is the case. And I know getting a goalkeeper on a DP contract is a very bad idea. Just ask Colorado about that situation. But, if it does get to the case where we really need to, if we are desperate to try to get that Vito Monone as the goalkeeper of the team, then it is pretty clear that we need to do whatever we need, even if we need to burn one of our DP contract. Now, TFC is report to sign young Pinero winger Francisco Pelestri, I think that's how you pronounce. And this is kind of interesting too, because literally 2 days ago, they were rumored to try to get Portuguese winger Burma from PSV Eindhoven, and they were going to make him as a designated player. And I'm guessing maybe this rumor about them getting this Pinero winger is probably an alternative option in case they won't sign Burma on a DP contract. And by the way, it is. I feel like if TFC is going to try to get Burma from PSV Eindhoven, they're going to have to pay a hefty price for it, and that it's going to be paying at a price where it's going to be very close in terms of the transfer record in MLS, because this is a guy that was bought from RB Leipzig to PSV Eindhoven, and that PSV, I think, paid $10 million to Leipzig in order to get him. And you know, with Dutch club, whenever they tend to sell their players, they usually sell them higher than they would when they bought him in the first place. So you could talk about maybe upwards around 10 plus million, or even 15 or 20 million dollar that TFC needs to pay PSV in order to get Burma. And you know, he's definitely a very good, decent player, but it's going to be interesting to see whether or not if TFC is going to spend that much amount of money in order to get a winger. I mean, I think when you look at this TFC attack, it's pretty clear that they need some help in the winger position, and that, you know, they're pretty good in terms of going forward on the attack with Altidore still there, and also in the central attack midfielder with Pozuelo pulling the string, but they need some help in terms of the winger position, and Burma will definitely fit in that category very well. The question is, they're going to have to pay a hefty price for it, and that maybe if they can't get this player, then they'll probably get the one that I just mentioned, and I think this one definitely will be a cheaper price, but maybe they're going to have to make him as a DP player too. I mean, any times when there is a player linked with Pinheiro, which it seemed like for the last couple of years, there's a lot of players from Pinheiro tends to love to go to MLS. I mean, you know, some of the most well-known kind of players from Pinheiro, like I forgot who was that player from LAFC that just signed as a third DP. I think it was his last name was Rodriguez. Oh, Brian Rodriguez. He of course came from Pinheiro, and obviously the most notable one, Nicholas Ladero, came from Pinheiro to go to the Seattle Sounders, and he had relatively good success there. So looks like TFC is trying to do the same thing, and that we'll see if this, of course, will be the option that they do in case if they're not going to sign Burma on a designated player contract. Now, Houston is thinking about selling one of the pieces that I think they're probably going to sell this off season regardless, is Mauro Menottes, who they are thinking about selling him to League side, and there's actually multiple League side are rumored to try to get Mauro Menottes. These sides includes Nantes, Montpellier, and Saint Etienne. And you know, if you're Houston, I think if you get the right price for Mauro Menottes, go ahead and sell him, because it's clear that Houston is going through a rebuilding stage, and that they're basically just kind of being like seller right now, trying to sell off whatever piece that they have in order to kind of start this rebuild that they are in. And I won't be surprised if either of these league side will offer a good price for Houston. Mauro Menottes would be out the door, and he will be joining a league side, which is kind of a shame, because Mauro Menottes, he's been with Houston for a long time, and we thought he could be a guy that's going to be with the Dynamo for a long time, and that, you know, we didn't think that maybe he was thinking about going to Europe, but you know, now with all the rumor of the fact that he could potentially go to Europe, and that if the Dynamo does receive a good price to try to sell Mauro Menottes, that would be the case where he would be out the door and go to one of these league side. Pablo Arangues of FC Dallas reports to head back to Chile on a loan, which I don't remember if this is actually true, but didn't in the middle of the season there was a rumor that he was going to be going back to Chile regardless, because of the fact that he wasn't really performing, and now literally 4 months later we're hearing the same rumor again. Or maybe that was another FC Dallas player that I got confused, and that, you know, I think most likely this could happen too, with the fact that Arangues hasn't really done well with FC Dallas for this past season. I mean, there was definitely a lot of potential and a lot of promise that Dallas would have on Pablo Arangues, but he hasn't scored a goal in any of his appearances with Dallas, and that it was getting to a point where I think he even got benched because of the fact that he wasn't living up to his expectations. So I'm guessing most likely if this is the case, he might be going back to Chile on a loan. Peruvian goalkeeper international Pedro Gallesi is rumored to join Orlando City, and this would definitely be a huge signing for Orlando City, knowing the fact that this is a guy that actually was the starting goalkeeper in that Copa America final against Brazil, and that he's been well known to be one of the best goalkeeper in South America, and that I feel like if Orlando City is going to try to get him, I usually don't like teams to do this, but most likely they're going to have to use a DP spot on a goalkeeper, and for a goalkeeper like as good as Pedro Gallesi, doing his time with Peru and doing his time in Copa America, something tells me Orlando City might have to offer a DP contract. And if they're going to offer a TAM contract, it's going to be a very high price DP contract, because seriously, this guy is one of the best goalkeeper in South America, and that if Orlando City is going to get him, this would be a huge kind of signing for them. The Union resigns Arian Collins to a 1-year deal. So Collins is a guy that for majority of last year was actually starting for this team, but he was actually kind of the backup of Austin Trusty. But since Trusty has been kind of mostly injured for the majority of last year, Collins of course stepped into his role, and he did relatively well in that role. But it seemed like since the Union just sold Austin Trusty to Colorado, it looked like they're thinking that, you know what, we might as well just get the guy that kind of replaced Trusty during the time when Trusty was in the injury reserve, and give him like a 1-year deal. And keep in mind, Collins, he's already near his mid-30s, and that it's getting to a point where defenders, usually when you get to that kind of age, unlike any other position, you can still be at your highest level. In fact, most defenders usually when they get around that age, they're usually at what is considered the prime of their career. But we shall see this 1-year deal that he received, whether or not if they're going to resign it at the end of the year, or they'll just move on from him if he decided to not continue. Well, he's going to continue his career, but we've seen before with MLS team, whenever they deal with older player, if they don't perform, they usually just kind of let them out of the door, because they're not gonna, they don't think that they could potentially continue to perform as they get older. But yeah, moving on, in terms of the next news is that Dallas is also report to re-sign Jesse Gonzalez, and I think they're very close in terms of re-signing him on a permanent deal, or not on a permanent deal, but on an extension. And yeah, I think this would be great that FC Dallas can re-sign Jesse Gonzalez. Gonzalez, I really think he's one of the most underrated goalkeeper in the league, and you could argue that he probably should be a starting goalkeeper in the U.S. men's national team, and some people even say that he's much better than some of the goalkeepers that we had in Zach Steffen and Brad Guzan. But for Dallas, they're able to secure the service of Jesse Gonzalez for the next couple of years. It will be a great kind of extension that they're going to give to him. So yeah, we shall see if this would happen in these next couple of days. The Galaxy is linked with a Peruvian defender, Carlos Zambrano. I think it was a couple of days ago I talked about how they were rumored to try to get another defender, but now they're rumored to try to get this defender, Carlos Zambrano, which I believe he's a Peruvian international. So, for the Galaxy, I think if they can sign him, he would definitely be a good signing, and he might be finally the guy that will solve the problem that the Galaxy's been having for a very long time now, which is whenever they decide to sign a defender, they just don't work out whatsoever. And especially, this is also a guy that was approached by the Seattle Sounders in terms of getting him there. I feel like something tells me he isn't just like one of those defenders where whenever they go to the Galaxy, they just suck so much. So we'll see if the Galaxy can potentially secure his service before the Seattle Sounders could come in and scoop up this deal. And finally, Eric Godoy is set to remain with the Vancouver Whitecaps, and it's going to be interesting to see whether or not if he's going to remain with the Whitecaps because the Whitecaps are going to get an extended loan for Eric Godoy, or the fact that they're going to sign him on a permanent deal. Either way, it's a great news, the fact that Eric Godoy is remaining as a Whitecap player, because he was one of the better defender for that team, of a defense that was pretty bad from last season. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these news. And as always, if I miss any important news in these last couple of days, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.